break it down and lose it. Come on, follow us to the new revolution. Come on, step it up, break it down and lose it. Come on, follow us to the new revolution. And now I'm proving that this battle I am never losing. I'm choosing to ignore the cuts and bumps and bruises. I'm cruising through these haters, leave them looking stupid. They foolish if they think they'll ever hear my conclusion. I'm through with all these part-timers and their excuses. I'm bruising eagles left and right every time I do this. I'm shooting for the top, no I'll never settle what you did. The future's in my hands, my grip will never lose it. My crew is ready to obtain the absolution, removing any doubt that we was ever fooling. So come on, step it off, break it down and lose it. Come on, follow us to the new revolution. Come on, step it off, break it down and lose it. Come on,
And there we are. We are now live from Maryland Poppin' HorrorCon, where Comic-Con meets Halloween. Just a couple of items. There's plenty of parking here, but if by chance you do pay for parking, bring your receipt in. You're going to get $5 off your ticket, and just show your receipt at the door. And with that, here we go.
And as he said, we're here at Maryland Poppin' HorrorCon, and this is the first panel of the day, and we're with somebody who I think doesn't need any introduction, but I don't know. Some people just don't I think it's the beard. You keep it too nice. But like, this is Geoffrey Cantor, ladies and gentlemen. Daredevil.
Hi, everybody.
The Blacklist. Like, the list goes on and on. I could not write down all of your acting credits or your reading credits or your like other credits. You read books.
Yeah, I've done some audiobooks. Yes.
I was hoping you read stuff that I actually enjoy to listen to, but like your stuff is very serious.
Well, I don't know that the know-it-all is serious.
No.
The know-it-all is an anthology. So AJ Jacobs, he read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. So the book, it's called The Know-It-All, is basically a bunch of anecdotes as he has read this entire thing, and so it is not at all serious. It's true, but it's not at all serious.
How do you, like myself, when I read anything, doesn't matter if it's something I'm interested or not, I pass out like right away. It's like a drug to me. It knocks me out. So like I have to, like, even when I'm studying up on for you and stuff, I have to sit up, make sure like I got coffee.
Wait. Are you telling me you fell asleep while you were studying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the panel. This was great.
You.
We'll see you all next time.
It gets weird with Jar Jar. Like, but yeah. How during the reading, do you ever feel like drowsy, like start to nod off?
Well, no, it's a job, you know.
Well, obviously.
I mean, are you feeling drowsy now?
No. Right now, I'm like,
So I'm reading out loud. So the way you do an audiobook is you read the book. You get the part, you read the book, and then before you do segments, because you don't read the entire book in one sitting. So it takes you about a week so it's a 700-page book, The Know-It-All was.
See, a 700-page book for me takes a year and a half.
Right. Well, obviously, if it took me a year and a half, then the book would never come out. That would have sucked for them. So no, I read it. I think it took me 10 days because, you know, you sort of go back and you read. You have to sometimes read bits of it over again, or you have to get your pronunciation right. But you read the book and then you sort of make some notes in the text, but you're reading out loud, so like you're not sitting reading to yourself. So I can see, like, lying in bed reading, you might fall asleep, but if you're reading out loud and you fall asleep, then you probably need to be on some medication to help you with that.
I've never tried reading out loud, but I think my wife
Try
would
it.
get
Maybe
annoyed
you might not.
with that.
Well, I don't. She might not like that.
They're reading my comic books, be like, "Yeah, Wonder Woman just came in with her lasso." Shut up. Bam.
Maybe she'll like that.
No, she might.
Just saying.
Next on, how do you go through your process? You've taken on a lot of roles, and even as the editor, I'm sorry, I'm losing the name right now, for
Ellison.
Daredevil. You're not that person at all. Like, it is a very different, like, even like visually, you're not that person.
That's so funny you say that.
Like,
one, look, talking about one's process is such a curious thing because it's very personal, right? So, I approach every part exactly the same way. You do what research you can. So the first thing is you get the text, and so if the writing's good, and Steve DeKnight, who was the showrunner for the first season of Daredevil, so my audition for that was the first scene that you see me in episode 3, and the writing is just excellent writing, and that's the case of Daredevil. And so you have the opportunity to do a little research. You know, everyone's seen shows about newspaper editors, and some of them are like the other Marvel editor who will go unnamed for the Bugle, and even the Daily Planet, right? These are editors that are these heightened characters, and that's not how it was written. It was written more like, I don't know, I think if you saw House of Cards or that newspaper room or the newsroom or there's been enough out there that sort of shows you what a newsroom looks like. And so that's, I guess my preparation for that particular role had to do with sort of my knowledge of those other programs that I've seen, and then a little bit speaking to some journalists. But again, in the case of Daredevil and the Punisher, the writing sort of offered that up for you.
So with being in so many things, from Blacklist, House Cards, list goes on and on.
Law and Order.
On. Yeah, like, do you pick the roles that you or is that really like you're
no act look,
well, obviously you're not like just like, hey, I want to do this,
right? Like when I'm Tom Hanks and I am producing my own thing, that I get to pick the roles in.
But do you get like scripts, like say your agent sends you a script ahead of time and you're like reading through and you're like, oh, I go read for that seems like fun.
For sure. So what tends to happen in the business is your agent or your manager is submitting you all the time for things that they think you're right for.
Okay.
And what I'd like to get them to do, which they do for me, is there's quite a range, right? So sometimes there's some actors who are very, very niche actors, and I don't want to be that actor.
I don't think you are.
Okay. And the beard is a niche beard, but I don't want to be a niche actor. So
I have questions about that.
We can have that discussion. So so one does get scripts, or sometimes you can get an offer for a role, and they're usually within your wheelhouse. It's very rare that you'll get something that is so outside of what you're comfortable doing, because that's how you're sold, right? And especially here in the United States, they like to sort of put you in a bit of a box. The other famous actors who are here right now can attest to that. You get put in a box by audience, you get put in a box by managers and directors and casting directors and agents, and the more you can push against that, the more fulfilling a career you're going to have. So I think my reps, I like them. I think they take good care of me in that way. So I have not said no to too many things.
Well, in my research for you, one of my favorite roles that you did was on Grand Theft Auto 5.
That was really
paparazzo missions were. It was a ball. Like, do you plan to do more voiceover? Like,
so Beverly was full mocap.
Yeah.
So I've done like 6 or 7 video games, including Alan Wake. And,
sorry, I haven't played that one.
And Manhunter. I don't play any of them because I can't. Like, I don't know how to play games. Well, there's some young people who, like, I'm sure play games. I don't understand it. My brain doesn't synaptically have the ability to handle that. But especially with Rockstar, that with Grand Theft Auto, I mean, that's like a multi-year, event that is great fun to do. Because
are you coming back for 6?
They've not asked me.
Oh.
But
where's the agent?
I don't know. She's just here. I mean, for the video games, I don't know if you guys have done any video games, but like the video games, they sort of nail who they want for some roles. Beverly was just bizarre. It's so unlike me, much younger than I am, as young as I look. He's a young, obnoxious, racist, sexist asshole who one doesn't necessarily want
which is totally
like, me. I know it's like typecast.
I was trying to say opposite, but
I know, but he wears cargo jeans and a loose fitting shirt. Like, it's just not how I am in life. But that said, it was what animation allows you to do is go even further beyond. So I like playing a range of roles, and something like a video game allows you to go way, way further than you could ever go.
Absolutely.
Especially because you get killed. So if you're like a complete jerk, like the fact that you get killed sort of makes it okay to be that kind of guy. Because, I know in the end I'll die.
Good. If anybody does have any questions, it is a Q&A, so please feel free to raise hands. Spencer, I don't know if you're allowed to.
He can ask a question. The first question you get a free picture.
Oh.
Everybody, Spencer is Darth Vader, so clearly he's used the Force, and I'm compelled to answer this question. I'll tell you, Spencer. I'll tell you. So the first role I ever did, I was 24. I just finished drama school in London. I went to the Central School, and the first role I did was for the Night Network, London Weekend Television's first late night television program, and I was a VJ. And Howard Stern was just this nothing in the universe, and the producers of the show in England. So this was 1987. So Howard Stern was just starting and was not even a known quantity, and they sort of referenced him, and I didn't even know him because I'd been in England for a number of years. But I created this character called the Axeman. And so that audition happened. I just actually found the letter that was inviting me to audition. And I went into LWT, which is on the South Bank. And so I'm sitting in a tiny little room, and they put the camera on me and just asked me to tell them about myself. And instead I said, you know what? No, I think this would be more interesting. I took the camera guy and we went around the entire studio, and I sort of interviewed people throughout the building. And that's, I think, how I got the part. And so I was a VJ. So I put the needle, so you'd see me, and I put the needle on record, and you'd see the video. So like, I remember Touch of Grey was one of them, the Fine Young Cannibals. So I was in the music industry. So that was my first gig right out of drama school, was TV in England. Are you talking about when I was little and doing theater? Oh. Wow.
He went further back than I did.
Yeah,
I didn't know you did theater as a child.
So, of course. So when I was really little, I did theater in grade school and got everything I auditioned for. And then when I was in high school, got everything I auditioned for, and community theater. But I was going to be a lawyer, and then I did summer stock when I was in college. So again, once you're in, like, you just get the parts. So there's the first professional audition I had was one I just described, which I got. And then when I came back from London, I actually became a social worker because I couldn't get acting work.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So I had a full head of hair. And
foster kids and stuff?
No, I was working with the elderly.
Oh, okay.
So I did 3 years of social work while I was trying to get acting. Were you really? Yeah. So I was a social worker for the late 80s. Well, I guess it was very early 90s. So while I was trying to get acting work, and then, so I don't remember the parts. I don't remember auditions I didn't get because I have selective memory. But then I did a play with Julie Taymor. We did Titus Andronicus. So Julie Taymor is the director of Lion King on Broadway, and she's a massive puppeteer. And she did Titus Andronicus with Theater for New Audience. And so that was sort of my first New York gig. That was my first New York theater gig, which was at an off-Broadway house. But it was amazing. Julie Taymor, obviously went on to be this, amazing powerhouse of a director. So no, that's right. Wow. These are real questions. Pay attention. You guys can learn about how to ask questions. So actors who have inspired me, I think Anthony Hopkins, Ian McKellen, Ian Holm, Laurence Olivier, of course, Mars Karnofsky, who was with the group theater, was one of the first teachers I had that made me understand sort of the depths of what this art form is. And but I've also got to work with some amazing people. I mean, I've worked with Glenn Close, and I've who's an inspiration. She's just like remarkable. Judd Hirsch, did a play with Judd Hirsch, who's Taxi and everything else that he's done. So I've been fortunate to work with some of these people that you look up to, right? So
if Spencer's done taking my questions that I've written down, I have to like cross them out as he goes. I'm like, all right, don't ask that now. Actually, I wanted to thank you for being one of the people that speak out about inclusivity in movies and stuff. I watched the interview you did with the names are escaping me right now. Hold on, I got it written down somewhere here.
The one with
Tommy
Alden?
Walker and Peter Shinkota.
Sure.
Like it was great to see both you and Tommy both be like, he's right. This stuff happens, and the world is
the industry is reflective of what's happening in the world, right? So I think the industry and Marvel specifically has made some great strides towards the notion of inclusivity. I mean, there's a Black superhero. There's a woman who suffers with depression and alcoholism. There's a blind person. I think that there's a lot further that TV and film can go. But I think that
I think the fans also have a lot of the responsibility to hold in that, because a lot of the fans. I'm sorry, I'm a huge comic book nerd. I run a huge thing on Facebook with tons of geeks and stuff. And every time a new thing comes out about any Marvel movie or any dork movie, if it's cast differently than what they know the source material to be, it's a huge uproar. And it's like
so when I was at Houston Comic Palooza and I was with Eldon, and somebody asked the question about Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, look, and I'm not in a position to talk about why they made the decisions they've made around how they're casting it, but as the origin story is certainly something they have to pay attention to. But I think what Marvel has the opportunity to do, and is trying to do as best they can, is to find the places where they can switch that. I mean, Urich was black.
Yeah.
Well, he's not black in the comic book, but his color is irrelevant.
No, exactly. Most of the characters.
Yeah. So
there are a few characters where color comes into like the person they are, but like most of these characters, they're fictional characters.
Right. And I think the obligation of television and film is where that specificity is not mentioned.
Yeah.
That you try, because anybody could be an editor. I mean, it could have been anybody, regardless of their ableness, regardless of the color of their skin, their religion, their height. It doesn't matter. Anybody could be an editor. I'm thrilled that I got it.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody else to get it now because I want the work. But I think it's the responsibility of producers and casting directors and writers to start thinking outside the box. And I think that it's trending in the right way. I think there's much further that it can go. But I think also you're looking at, there's more content that there's ever been in the history of our industry.
Insane.
I can't even amount of content. And so if they can't,
it's my job to keep up with it.
Right.
And I can't.
And so if they can't figure it out with that much content, then shame on them. Like there's no reason you cannot create worlds that are for everybody.
I absolutely agree on that. I just lost my next question. Sorry.
What would you say is a role that you played in that after you did it, you were like, oh my God, I need it?
Wow.
Oh, the moment.
Well, I think about that with every role I do. I making it as an actor, right? That's another interesting thing to say. If you're earning a living as an actor, you've made it, right? Some people are earning a lot, but I remember having a conversation with Judd Hirsch, and here's a guy, he probably never has to work again. We're not driven just by the look, we definitely want to earn a living. That's like super important. But I remember he was talking about he still has to hustle. Like he still is eager to do the work, hungry to do the work, wants to do work that excites him. I mean, the thing is, like, you might make it to a certain level. And so for somebody who hasn't quite, like, if you can't earn a living as an actor, you might really aspire to be somebody who can earn a living as an actor. Then all of a sudden you're earning a living as an actor, but you're not doing the work that's really fulfilling because you want to expand. So then you're always aspirational moving forward. And so I guess I've made it. You know, I feel like I've made it because I earn a living doing what I love to do, and I'm super fortunate. But have I done everything that I want to do? Not yet. So, I hope I never do. Right? I hope that never stops, because then what's the point?
Are you planning to be the crotchety old man one day on something?
The what?
The crotchety old man where you those kids, get off my lawn.
I might just become him. I don't hope to become him, but like I hope I'm still alive to be that old and still working.
The aspirations, yeah.
Wait, she has another question. Is this a follow-up?
Not really. How would you say like you stayed out of being a niche character?
Oh God. I don't know.
It's the beard.
Well, because some people might say I am a niche character. Like some people have said, you know, you seem like you're the same in everything you do in some ways. I don't think that's the case. Facial hair is not a thing, right? So I don't know so I did a movie called Hail Caesar that the Coen brothers directed, and I'm playing a lawyer. Shocking. I know, my mother was so happy, but finally he's a lawyer. But there's no beard and I have hair. So I look very, very different, and you know, looks aren't everything, but looks are also something. So, but it's also difficult. I mean, as the gentleman in the room can attest, part of you wants to be the niche actor because then you're not going to get tagged for stuff. Because especially in America, they can find anybody they want. They don't really care if you've been trained. They don't really care as much as they do in England because the talent pool is so. Unfortunately, sure, but the talent pool is massive here. So if they want to find a guy with a bandana, you know, with a little goatee, they can say, "Oh, here's the guy." Like they don't. Whereas I was brought up, I came up in a time where I thought creating that character was how I'm going to get the work. So the reason I went into it was so I could sort of walk in other people's shoes and have a real range and play different characters. And I played characters that I wouldn't even be allowed to audition for. You know, if you go back, and I'm not going to talk about them, but if you go to my website, you'll see I've done roles that no one would ever allow me to even audition for now because of sort of the nature of the industry. And so part of you needs to be a niche actor, at least initially, like Tom Hanks, right? Tom Hanks, when he first started out, was just always funny. He's always the funny guy. And it wasn't until he had a certain amount of power where he could create his own stuff, or where he was influencing the production side, where he was able to really break out. Because audiences also sort of make really specific decisions on how they want to see you. And if you break out of that,
they get upset. I mean, he went from Joe versus the Volcano to Castaway, and that's a huge leap.
To Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia
is really Philadelphia is really where he went from being the funny guy.
He was doing the rom-coms, I think, in between that made the help to the jump over.
Yeah. So.
Bouncing off of that question, do you have a favorite role that you've done? The character that, not a favorite role, but a character that you were so intrigued with?
I do love Ellison. I mean, Ellison, I got to do, 3 seasons of Daredevil, a season
16
of Punisher.
episodes.
Yeah, and I think that.
Are you coming back for season 4?
That's the hope.
Yeah.
It is. I don't have any data to support it. But I have. There's also no data that says I won't be in it. But Ellison was the first time I ever got to play a role that sort of spanned years. And also by the 3rd season, they weren't writing for me, but they heard my own voice in it, which was great. I loved playing Frank in Maniac because I got to shoot somebody in half with a shotgun. That was fun.
You've been asked this before, but you only use the Netflix Marvel universe. Who would Ellington want to, or yeah, Ellison want to interview throughout the entire MCU? He's got the chance now. Even like say bring back Black Panther. Everybody's alive. The snap hasn't happened.
Well, I think I mean if you, that's a really interesting question. I think I would, as Ellison, I would really want to talk to Luke Cage.
So still that same answer.
I think I'd want to. I think I really want to talk to Luke Cage because he's got a super complex story going on.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to interview Fisk because I think that would be a really interesting interview.
The back and forth.
Yeah,
and
I'd be really curious
and stuff.
I'd be really curious. Of the sort of if you expand it out, I mean, in my head, Ellison is a Hell's Kitchen, New York based guy. And so then it's a New York paper. And so I never really thought, I guess Stark, I'd want to talk to him about, the industrial military complex. I'd probably want to have that discussion with him.
Yeah. Anybody else? I have more. Andre?
I want to ask you a serious question. Another brilliant.
A serious question. It's the accent that makes it sound so serious.
Doesn't scare you?
When you audition, right? Obviously, you audition thousands of times and then you get off, right? How do you deal with rejection?
Obviously, there you go.
This is like a big.
No happens more than yes.
From the point where you start your career, right? And you become a mature actor, right? And this is whole process how you dealt with rejection at the beginning and how you're dealing with rejection now. So just tell me about that.
Wow. And again, I can't speak for other actors.
No.
Right. So for me, I don't know how you treat auditions. So for me, every audition is an opportunity to do my job. So all I'm doing is walking into an office, or in the case now, we're all self-taping, which is a whole different discussion. But I have a singular job, and that is to attend to the task at hand, which is to do the role. The way my approach is using the text, bringing as much truth to it as I can, doing as much homework as I can within the time you have. Sometimes you have an audition that's the next day. So I get off book, I learn my lines, I think about it, I make intuitive decisions. I think I'm more intuitive now than I used to be. I'm making much faster decisions. And what TV and film is about is they want to see you as the guy. They're not really interested in having, unless it's a film where the producer's calling you. I just had a discussion with a producer director and we're talking about it. But for the most part, you're going in, you got to be the guy. So you'll wear the right clothes or the silhouette of the right clothes, and you'll be that guy. And in my opinion, it's like we're a group of people who are trying to do a project. You're the writer, you're the director, I'm the actor. This is what I'm bringing. I've seen what you're bringing. Do I fit into that mold? I'm not really getting rejected because I already got the audition. Right. So the way I don't look at rejection at all anymore. It's this big aggregate. For the most part, I've been accepted by the industry and by the art form. So an individual rejection is just, or even getting the job. Like once I audition, I'm done. If I get the job, then oh yeah, I get to play again. That's really great. And somebody else will pay for my clothes this time. And that's terrific. But I think when I was younger and where I was worried that every job meant, am I going to pay my mortgage or my rent? Then there was a different kind of pressure. And then rejection was less about, do they like me or not like me as an actor? It's like, oh crap, how am I going to support my family? So there was a different kind of pressure. But once I hit a certain mark where I know I'm going to have the income, then it's just, I just let it go. I just let it go, and I don't know about you, but like sometimes you get offered stuff without auditioning. I sometimes find that is frustrating because like, why did you pick me? I haven't made any choices that are relevant to the part. So that's not frustrating. I love being offered stuff, but it's all part of the same thing. I just, I like doing the work. I love doing the work. So the business sucks, but I love doing the work. So I don't really, I wouldn't say I don't notice rejection, but it doesn't, I don't, no, not at all. not at all. It's just another part of the job, you know. But I don't know that everybody feels that way.
All right, we got 5 more minutes. So if you have questions,
Have you always wanted to be on the East Coast? Because I know obviously actors are different on the West Coast. It's like a whole different vibe. It's like a lot of the TV studios and a lot, people come from the East Coast to the West Coast and vice versa.
Right.
Well. Have you always just wanted to be based? Are you from New York? Is that like
That's another. Yeah,
Born
some
in
really good
Newton.
questions, right? So, it wasn't a lot of choice. I thought I was going to be a sitcom guy.
Oh, interesting.
Because I'm super funny.
You are. You're hilarious.
I'm really funny.
I loved watching all the interviews I watched with you in it because it was.
I'm super
You're
funny, right?
an endearing
I
person.
know, I'm so nice.
Oh, you're so great.
And so
all hail Geoffrey.
Right. So but the TV that, especially with this sort of big shift with Marvel, is only one example. The TV on the East Coast tends to be less sort of, I don't know, there's a little more depth to a lot of the stuff that I've been able to do. And so my family's on the East Coast and I had kids, like I couldn't go out on spec. I couldn't afford to go to California during pilot season, which doesn't exist anymore anyway. And now it doesn't matter where in the world you are anyway, because you're putting yourself on tape. You can be in Arizona, you can be in New York, you can be in Atlanta, you can be in Philly. It doesn't matter where you are. And so the need to be on the coast doesn't exist anymore. But also LA is a one industry town for the most part, right? So everything, even the doctors and the lawyers and the shop people they only exist really because of the business of the business. And the thing about New York is everybody does everything. Like you can walk down the street and see a celebrity and they're just a person on the street going into, Cinderella because they have more money than you do. So you're going into Whole Foods, but that's like, but I remember I was doing I think a commercial or a TV gig in California. And I was staying at the Roosevelt Hotel and I go down to the pool to get a bite to eat. The bartenders, the wait staff, and the people at the bar are all in the business. And I had to leave and go to a bar so I could watch a Giant game. And I think for me, that's really the big difference is less the work, because now there's decent work everywhere. I mean, I couldn't afford to go on spec when it made sense. And now it doesn't make sense. I have representatives in California. I have representatives in New York. They're kind of the same representatives. And so now the whole notion of what coast you're on has less, a little bit. So yes. Last question, I guess.
It's up to you.
I'll keep talking.
Yeah, he'll keep going, but
we have 2 minutes.
I heard you mention self-taping. I haven't heard that before. I'm assuming that's something people do. Would you say that?
All right. So self-taping began with the advent of video, and you'd literally put yourself on tape at your agent's office because you go into a casting director, they're putting you on tour. And so they're putting you on tape anyway. So casting directors are always putting you on tape anyway, and these tapes are being flown out places. Now everything's digital. So, but with the advent of COVID especially, so I've had to do self-tapes that were in California even before COVID. But often there's a casting director for the most part. Now the casting directors have been taken out of the sort of day-to-day, which that's a whole nother big discussion that we don't have time for. But now you're asked to put yourself on tape. I have 2 self-tapes that are due like by the end of Monday. And I have a place that I go to in New York, Skytown Entertainment, and they have offices in LA. And there are other, like there's the tape room. So there are places now where you'll go and they're not casting directors and you have to pay. And they put you on tape and they do all the titles and they send it out to the casting director. But that is, since COVID, that's all it is. That's all it is. I've not met with the casting director since COVID, but maybe 3 times. And sometimes it's done on Zoom. But COVID really, really changed that. And there's actually a big discussion with SAG because people are actually paying for auditions.
No questions, guys.
Well, I had one.
Okay, I do too, but I just want to make sure everybody else gets theirs out.
What's your question?
How has being in the public eye affected your ability to do normal things? I hear
not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. So case in point. So here I am at Comic-Con, and I was wearing a T-shirt and a hat, and people are looking at my pictures, and they're looking at a massive picture of me on the wall.
Is he here?
And they're right, and I'm like, that's me, and they're like, what? I have to take off the hat and I put on glasses. That's why I'm wearing a tie today. So I'm recognized rarely, more since Daredevil than ever before. And the people who like I've been not assaulted, but I've been approached on subway trains. I remember I was walking down Fifth Avenue, and there's this like super good looking couple, like the guy and the girl. They're like you're like, oh, they're like super well dressed, like they're a hot couple. And all of a sudden, the guy sort of geeks out and he comes running to me, like, what the hell is happening? And his girlfriend's sort of just standing there, and he's like shaking.
I know that look.
Like he's completely shaking because he's so excited to talk to me. Like, so, but that's super rare. And I mean, one of the reasons why I come to Comic-Cons, and Stacy can attest to this, is I've never had fans before. And since Daredevil happened, I now have fans, and it's like sort of an honor to get the opportunity to talk to people. And, you know, if they're interested in the character, most people know more about my character than I do. You know, if they're really fans, they know more about me and my world than I'll ever know, which is great. And so it's a little humbling to, you know, to have the opportunity to sort of be present for people who are interested in chatting and asking questions. So, yeah, so I haven't hit the point of fame. And also, I'd say in New York, that's the thing about being in New York is people don't nudge you anyway. So even if they do recognize you, like even if they are,
I like how you use nudge.
Yeah, you know, no one, they get that famous people are people. I'm like pseudo famous. I'm not really famous. Like I'm like famous-ish.
Like Steve Martin gets the pain in the ass. People coming up.
I don't know.
You think?
I don't know.
Leo, I'm going to let you ask your question before we end it. I want to ask mine, but you get yours.
Well, I had several, but I'm just going to bring up. I saw you do consulting work and coaching as well. I saw you have Stephen Ogg as one of your students.
How's that guy that did Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Fun
So
guy.
Stephen Ogg is a great friend of mine, and so I started coaching actors a long time ago. I taught at the National Theater Institute, the National Youth Theater Institute in Connecticut, which doesn't exist anymore. And then I remember when I was understudying a Broadway play, and some of the other actors in the play would sort of come and ask me to coach them. And so I started just coaching word of mouth, and I taught a little bit because a manager kept sending me her kids, and I just don't have time for it. But it's just word of mouth is how I have those students. But yeah, I have students who have much better careers than I have, you know. And I just love the art form. It sort of gets back to what I was saying before. And the business sucks, but it's a great art form. I mean, it's one of the few places, it's one of the few arts that's truly collaborative. Like if you're a painter or you're a writer, there's a huge private component. And look, the preparation I do is all me, but it's a social art form. I mean, you're sharing stories with people, with an audience, but also with people, right? And so that's a rare thing to do. And also you get to investigate the lives of other people in a way that no other art form really allows you to do. I mean, it's the epitome of empathy, right? You have to, and the great thing about the art form in general is you learn leadership, teamwork. You have to have great confidence and great humility. You have to sublimate your own ego in order to walk in somebody else's shoes. You have to be non-judgmental because you can't do a role if you're going to judge them. Like, you know, if I had to play Stalin, we all know that he was a freaking monster, but you can't play that. You have to let the audience know that. And so the coaching just allows me to just stay in the art of it in a way that sometimes the business doesn't necessarily allow. And some of the consulting work I do has nothing to do with the art form. I consult with a couple of nonprofits, and I worked with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for a few years. And I just finished a project with Rethink the Conversation that was unscripted with teens who'd lost loved ones to suicide. And we spent the day with these kids, and their parents were there, and that has nothing to do with me as an actor.
How do you not get emotional during
I got completely emotional.
Okay.
I completely cried at the end of it.
Doing this, I get asked to do like different charity things, like to go to like children's hospitals and stuff. But you can't like break down at these things. So it's tough. Right. For me.
So while it was going on, I was fine. But at the end of it, when we had all the parents and all the kids, and I was like, we sort of were wrapping up, and I was thanking everybody for being there, I completely broke down because the stories I was hearing were just devastating stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a commercial for Kleenex. I interviewed 900 people around the country. It was the Good Listener.
Oh, wait.
And that's what led to work.
I cried during that one.
Right. So that's what led me to work with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I interviewed 200 people around the issue of suicide loss.
Nice.
So that's you know,
That's
and I
gotta be
got the
rough.
social work helped a little
How's
bit.
that on your own? I'm sorry. We actually have to end this. I know, but
Yeah,
like,
Sorry.
and
now
just
I'm like, how's that on your own psyche? Like, I'm like, I go through my own mental
Yes,
health
hi,
and
Jeff.
stuff.
Time is up.
Yeah.
My time is next.
It's all over. If you guys want to take a photo with Geoffrey Cantor, right next door, they're doing photo ops and stuff. A round of applause. I know there's not a lot of us here, but thank you all
my
for
pleasure.
coming. You guys are great.
Thank you, everybody out
And
there.
your
Thank you guys
questions
for
are
showing
awesome.
up. Thank you.
We appreciate
buddies.
you all. You've been here
you.
both days. I love you.
and photo ops are right after this.
Yes, I
Yeah.
said right next door. I did it. I did. Don't tell me my job.